Sharpening V-tools can be tricky, but on the record power WG250 it's fairly easy. Let's run through the various aspects of a V-tool and what we need to focus on to get it razor sharp. The first thing is that this V-tool is made of two blades forming a V. We've got to make sure that the angle of both of those cutting edges are consistent with each other. What we don't want to see is one wing coming back in this direction and the other one in the opposite. We want to keep them both level. So the first thing to focus on is the blade angle in relation to the shank. When I'm talking about the shank of a chisel, it's the bit of steel between the handle and the cutting edge. To do this, we simply offer the tool square on onto the wheel. Now, there's different schools of thought here because some carvers like to angle, blade angle slightly back so that the V is more prominent. Others like to keep it at 90 degrees. I'm going to go for a slight angle. So let's get the blade angle correct first in relation to the shank. Now you'll notice that I'm facing this side of the machine. The stone is travelling away from the cutting edge, so the supporting arm is in the horizontal position. I also want to grade the stone. I want to go quite carefully with this. It's quite a delicate operation. So this is set at a coarse grade. I want to condition the stone and turn it into a finer cut. To do that, I'm going to turn the machine on. And using the stone grader on the fine side, I'm going to condition the stone, and this will take it down to about a 350 grit cut. It'll be slightly finer. I'm just holding it flat on the stone. Okay. So to set the blade angle, I'm just going to set it straight face on onto the stone. Can you see we've got that line of light? It gives me an edge to work to. The wings of the tool are set slightly back from the point, so the point is the prominent part. The next job is to establish the cutting edge angle, and the cutting edge angle is the angle of the tool the angle of the bevel that we want to achieve. The average angle of a carving tool blade is anywhere between 20 to 30 degrees. And the angle actually relates to the density of the timber that you're carving. As a general rule, if you're carving softwoods such as lime or pine, then you could go for a keener angle, 20 degrees. If, however, you're carving oak and you're using a mallet, well, the cutting edge angle will then need to be greater. It's going to make the edge more durable. So as a general rule, the harder the timber, the greater the angle that's required. The shoulder of the jig will now rest against the supporting arm on the machine. And I've set the jig and the supporting arm in the correct position from this gauge. This is the angle setting gauge. It's set to 22 degrees. I'm going to put the heel of the gauge onto the stone, and this flat foot here is going to sit parallel to the inside of the V-tool. Can you see that? So now I know that that's going to give me an angle of 22 degrees, so we can start the grind. So with the shoulder of the jig firmly against the supporting arm of the machine, I'm going to lower the tool, keeping it flat onto the grinding wheel. Notice the direction that the wheel is travelling. It's travelling away from the tool. And I can slide it across the stone, which will help to give me an even amount of wear on the stone. going to take a look at that grind. Okay, this is giving me a nice consistent angle, and I want to watch the line of light. As that reduces, I've got to be very careful. I don't want to go past that line. If I go too far, then the angle of that wing is going to get reduced. We don't want that. Okay, so can you see we've got a nice consistent grind here, and can you see how my line of light is reducing in comparison to this one here? Okay, so I'm happy with that. That's getting really close now. It's time to grind the other wing. Because I'm moving quite a bit of metal, this is actually taking a bit of time. So I'm going to coarsen the wheel up a little bit. It's going to give me a 200 grip. And the beauty of this machine is I can increase that peripheral speed. Already, I know we're taking more metal off. That's a real unique feature of this machine. It's brilliant. Oh, all right, now we're moving. I'll turn that speed back down again. Okay, so I'm getting towards the end of this cut. Reaching my line of light. Okay, so let's stop right there. Alright, so that's as far as I want to go on those two cutting edges. The line of light has now disappeared, but what I'm left with is this point here, this sharp V area. Can you see I've still got a small triangular piece of steel at the base of that V. This isn't going to cut yet, so we need to remove that. So this is what we want to try and achieve, and here you can see what we're aiming for. Got to remove that sharp point of the V. Okay, let's have a look. Oh yeah, that's it. That's what we want. Okay, so now we're at the stage where it's time for honing. To do this, we need to reposition the supporting arm to the honing wheel. And it's important now we must re-establish the ground edge angle so that we get a consistent angle onto the honing wheel. To do this, simple trick with a marker pen, blacken that edge angle. So what I'm now going to do is just pop that on the arm. You notice I haven't moved the jig from the tool, and what I need to do is adjust the supporting arm to get it to what I think is the right spot to recreate that edge angle. So I'm guessing that that's okay. And all I'm going to do is just simply rotate the honing wheel to see what bit of the marker pen I'm removing. That's really lucky. That doesn't happen very often, but clearly that's perfect angle, because what it's done is it's completely removed the marker pen. I know I've got a consistent angle, and I can just go with that. So I'll turn the machine on. Alright, so this honing wheel has been charged with an abrasive compound. It's just an abrasive paste. Comes free with the machine. I just simply polish each edge. Now the heel, Some call it a keel. Okay, now what I would have formed in here is a burr, so that needs to be removed. You'll notice that I've fitted a shaped honing wheel. Again, it's made of leather. I've conditioned it with oil, and then on top of that I've put the honing compound. The oil simply prevents the honing compound from going in too deep. I'll use this to remove the burr from the inside edge. And on the other side, back on the face again. Okay, so the real test to see how sharp we've got the tool is by carving with it in a piece of timber. So let's give it a go. So of course there's 3 areas of the V-tool that I need to check. I need to check each of those wings individually. So that's that one, that's nice and sharp. And now the opposite one, that's nice and sharp. What I'm looking for is drag marks in the timber. If the tool is blunt, what will happen is it'll cause little sort of white lines through the timber where it's dragging. So both of the wings are fine. And now it's the base of the V, where those 2 wings meet. Nice and sharp.